This
Welcome to the
conference will now
January
be
meeting.
recorded.
The first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the last board meeting. Does anyone have?
Approve the minutes of the board manager's regular meeting on December the 9th is drafted. I'll second that because they were one.
Oh, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, so the second thing on the agenda, Bob Goodwin is going to handle this because I'm recused from this item on the agenda. So I'm going to walk.
Okay, so we have, this is two appeals from the same party, and we'll have our staff present us with the description of the status.
Oh, okay, thank you. Hello, this is hearing of case number A8576, variance request for Mr. and Mrs. Coughlin, at 20 West Lenox Street. They have requested to construct an outdoor therapeutic bath and swimming pool, all or most of which would be located forward of the required 15-foot setback from the Magnolia Parkway front line of the main building. Section 824 of the Village Code states a swimming pool or outdoor therapeutic bath must be set back at least 15 feet from the front building restriction line of the property or from the front main building line, whichever is greater. There are no applicable covenant issues related to this variance request for the case. The property is located at the south side of West Lenox Street and is within the Chevy Chase Village Historic District. Montgomery County permits are required for the scope of this project, which includes a pool and outdoor therapeutic bath. A pool enclosure fence is also included in this request and will require a separate variance and special permit from the board. The property is a corner lot with two front yards, West Lenox Street running along the north side of the property and Magnolia Parkway running along the west side of the property. Due to the Magnolia Parkway frontage, the property has an acute angle and narrows from the north side of the property to the south, which is designated as the rear yard. The pool and outdoor therapeutic bath are proposed to be placed in the rear of the residence in the south yard of the property. The variance for the pool and outdoor therapeutic bath are required due to the additional setback requirements from the Magnolia Parkway frontage. The applicants assert that the property cannot accommodate a pool and outdoor therapeutic bath in a compliant location because of the property's acute angle shape. The existence of the detached garage located in the southeastern corner of the property and the setback requirements from the Magnolia Parkway frontage. To date, correspondence has been received from Mr. and Mrs. Kessler at 20 Magnolia Parkway, stating that they have no objections to the proposed work. Correspondence was received from Mr. and Mrs. Wellington at 18 West Lenox Street, requesting a postponement of the hearing to allow additional time to address concerns which include drainage, tree protection, and noise related to the pool equipment location. An architect engaged by Ms. Wellington has submitted a letter that was circulated to the board prior to the meeting, raising concerns with aspects of the project, including stormwater management and tree preservation for a white oak tree on the shared property line with 18 West Lenox. A tree preservation plan and stormwater management plan will be required during the building permit review process for this project and have not yet been created pending board consideration of the variance requests. All other elements of the proposed pool and outdoor therapeutic bath are compliant with village code and will be required to meet all Montgomery County noise regulations. A Historic Preservation Commission hearing was held on January 8th, 2025 to consider a historic work permit for the proposed work. The HBC took a straw vote uh, to approve the proposed pool and therapeutic bath, but delayed a formal vote pending village board approval of the fencing in the Magnolia Parkway public right-of-way and pending submission of the village arborist tree protection plan, confirming no impacts on the white oak that we mentioned previously. Related precedents. The board approved a variance for a pool at 7 West Kirk Street. That property also had a pie-shaped geometry, resulting in a small area in which a reasonable sized pool could be placed, and a pool enclosure fencing measuring 5 feet in height, a portion of which would be located in the Laurel Parkway right-of-way. The board also approved a variance for a swimming pool at 6302 Broad Branch Road that was proposed to be located 32 feet, 2 inches forward of the required 15-foot setback from the front Broad Branch Road main building line. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Shana, do you have some additional thoughts on this proposal?
Just two things to note, that the applicants are here in the audience if the board has any specific questions for them. And I also wanted to note that we do have one neighbor who I believe would like to speak, who is on the virtual feed. As was noted in staff's report, we have received a request from the neighbor for a postponement of this hearing. And so that is something that the board should be aware of and respond to. And that is the same neighbor who is on the virtual feed who may want to be heard regarding that request.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we hear from the applicants? If you care to answer any questions and or give us the basic reasons for your submission.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. Appreciate it. Really do. And thanks to the staff for putting together such a thorough report. You know, we've been working with them for the last few months and they've been very helpful in this process. As Aurelio indicated, we did go to the Historical Preservation Committee and they could not vote on it until they knew the village's stance on the fence, because part of the fence is on village property. But they unanimously voted that the pool met what they required. Their staff again approved the pool, and they unanimously agreed that they thought the fence should be where it is, as long as it was a picket fence that met the county standards for safety. Okay, and that's only adding, I think it's 4 more inches to the current fence size. So again, part of the problem is the fence that's been sitting there for 30 years that we've been maintaining for the last 17 years that we've lived there. Part of it sits in the right of way. But again, it's been in the same location for 30 years. We've maintained it. We've replaced it twice in the last 17 years. And we're just asking for 4 more inches to that fence to meet county regulations. As indicated, I think our neighbors on the 18 West Lennox have some concerns about stormwater management and about the white oak tree. I think both of those things can be addressed during the building process and not the variance process. For one thing, stormwater management, West Kirk, which they brought up, sits about 4 feet above the level where the pool is. And I don't think water can run uphill, so that really shouldn't be an issue, but we will make sure of that during the building permit process. And 2, the white oak, between the white oak and the pool is a 12-foot deep basement that's been built as part of our addition, as you can see there. The white oak is up on the right side, the bigger black dot. We've done the arborist report when we built the basement and it had no effect on the white oak. I can't see how the pool would have any effect on white oak, but we will do the arborist report as part of the building permit process, not the design process. So we are more than willing to do that. Again, but we're asking that it not be delayed. We're eager to move the project forward. We've been following the process as it's designed and as it's supposed to go. We gave notifications when we were supposed to give notifications, and we would really like to move this forward in a timely fashion. We have some personal reasons why we'd like to move forward, 2 in particular. we're eager to move it forward because my wife, who is, she's currently, uh, she's currently, she's currently recovering from stage 3 colon cancer that she's been battling for the last few years. And the chemotherapy and the immunotherapy has taken a very big toll on her. And the therapeutic spa would be something that the doctors agree would be very helpful for her. And like I indicated before, we've been here for 17 years. We moved in a month after my youngest daughter was born. And that daughter is leaving for the Naval Academy at the end of June. And it would be a great place for her and her fellow plebes to come back to have a little late time that they have off in the fall, to be able to relax and get off of the yard. So we would respectfully request that we move the process forward in the manner that it's been going on. And we respectfully, if you have any questions for me, I'd love to answer them for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any members of the board have a question or comment?
A question has occurred to me, and you're not the one that you have to answer it.
Sure.
Do we have any covenant issues here?
No.
Could I add one more thing? I'm sorry.
Sure.
If you do look at the drawing here, I think we do meet the intent of the setback. Like I said, we have 2 front yards, but because of the right of way and the way the property line comes in, the pool will actually sit about 50 yards from Magnolia Parkway. Okay, I think the setback is 25 yards from the property line, but so the pool is set back 50 feet from Magnolia Parkway, well into the yard, tucked in behind the house and next to the garage.
Okay. Other questions from members of the board?
Just a clarification about
Sure.
the fence. Are you simply building up where the existing fence is?
We're
And so
literally where the
you're
same
already
fences.
over this is a case of.
Yes, ma'am. So if you see, we're building the fence where the current fence exists.
Exactly.
We're only trying to raise by 4 inches to meet county code for security that the county requires for the pool.
Seems reasonable.
Will it be the same style fence?
Yeah, well, I think we drew it as a privacy fence, but when we were talking to HPC, we both agreed it would be great if we could keep it as a picket fence, as long as that picket fence can meet the requirements of security for the pool. And there are ways to do that. So if we're going to keep it a picket fence. The HPC also requested that we paint it black, a wooden black fence, because I think that blends like a dark gray or black. But they said they'd leave it up to you. If you want it white, they do it white too. You know, they would agree to that too, but they would prefer if it was a black picket fence as opposed to a white picket fence. I said, whatever y'all.
Yes, Jana?
So it might be helpful if we just for a minute. So there are 2 cases before you this evening. Aurelio has only introduced the first case, which is the pool and outdoor therapeutic bath. Realizing though that this is very clearly intermingled with the fence, it might be helpful just for me to just briefly describe the fence case before you proceed forward with
that'd be a
any
good idea.
more conversation. So yes, as the applicant noted, they have proposed, in addition to the pool and outdoor therapeutic bath, assuming that were to be the code.
Spices from garam masala to red chili powder and fenugreek seeds impart.
Thank you. The code requires pool enclosure fencing of a minimum of 5 feet. What the applicants have proposed here is to take their existing fence, which is located in what we classify to be the Magnolia Parkway front yard, as well as the Magnolia Parkway public right-of-way, which is currently 4 feet 8 inches, which was previously approved as a special permit by this board, and to increase the height by 4 inches to meet that minimum from the code for a pool enclosure fencing. Now, certainly the applicants could place compliant enclosure fencing within the property at a location that would allow them not to need the special permit, but that would require a double line of fencing on the property. And it certainly, I think, makes sense why the applicants would seek to simply just replace what already exists on the property. So that's the second piece of this that is before you, is that pool enclosure fencing. As is noted in the staff report, we do also have case precedent for the board authorizing special permits both in the front yard as well as in the public right-of-way for fencing that exceeds the code allowable height of 4 feet. And there is specifically precedent where an applicant has also been obtaining a variance for a pool, 7 West Kirk and 6320 Broad Branch, which was later re-subdivided to be 26 Oxford, were also locations where the board authorized it as two components. So just to get into the record, yes, as the applicants noted, their original proposal was for a board-on-board privacy fence for this location. Due to the straw vote and direction from the Historic Preservation Commission, the applicants will be required to comply with whatever style requirements the Historic Preservation Commission mandates. Historically, this board has deferred to the Historic Preservation Commission for properties within the historic district as it relates to the style of fences. You have issued variances and decisions specific to the fence height, but you have generally left the style requirements to the discretion of the Historic Preservation Commission, since their purview is principally about the style and aesthetics of improvements within the historic district. So that I just
Okay.
wanted to add that, so that
Thank
way
you.
you
That's
can
very
continue
helpful.
to handle both cases at once.
Okay, Mr. Winstead.
Dan, is there your neighbor, who I assume you guys have been neighbors for
17 years. Yeah,
because I know how long they've been here.
yeah.
Had the pool people advised as options in terms of the pool equipment, in terms of whether it could be put further away from your common property line? Is there any
Well,
option?
again, I don't know. if
Because they're concerned about noise, right?
So I hear that, and you can, it's hard to see maybe from this, but the pool equipment sits at the bottom of the picture at the far end of the pool next to the garage. Okay, there you go, thank you. So it meets the code for distance to distant property line, and it definitely meets the code, the distance to the eastern property line where 18 is.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah, so you have the garage, there's a 12-foot,
Yeah.
there will be a 12-foot stone wall in front of that pool equipment.
Got it.
I'm sorry, 6 foot? Sorry, 6-foot stone wall in front of the pool equipment, between the pool equipment and the pool. And then you also have the garage between the 18
Got it.
West Lennox and the pool
So
equipment.
that's about as far away as you can put it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, other questions? If not, then let's hear from the neighbor, Miss Wellington, I believe, who is online.
Yes, here I am. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you all about this proposal. We have not opposed the pool. We are just concerned about the location of the pool and sort of the amount of things that are being placed there in terms of the impact on the tree. You see the drawing that is put up here on the screen, and the tree in question is a specimen tree. It's a white oak that is 56 inches round. Right there, it's shown as if it's only on the applicant's property. But that drawing is not correct. In fact, it is on both of our properties. So we're extremely concerned about the adding of the fence there, and of course the excavation of the pool and all the things that happen during construction on what happens to the tree. And I want to say that we have hired an architect, Greg Weideman, but we did it just earlier this week, and he already had a prior commitment. So I'm very sorry that he can't be here. But if you look at the bottom of this drawing, which you can't see the entire drawing, the one that shows 156, it has sort of a survey of the trees and a listing of, the condition and what could be done to the trees. And well, first of all, we share the tree. In fact, my husband and I we're the ones who maintain the tree for sort of historic reasons. But it says on that drawing that tree 156, they're proposing to reduce the crown to reduce risk of branch stem and or root failure, which our architect said would imply prophylactic efforts to mitigate damage during construction. So this is what our biggest concern is, because if there's any aspect of the Village Historic District, it's maintaining the park-like setting. Now, I also did appear before the HPC where they debated about the fence, and I do think there should be some consideration of possibly moving the pool fence further away so that it's not on village property. One of the architects who's on the HPC suggested a fence that could be completely open when you're using the pool. And then I have a bit of concern because I now have 8 grandchildren from the ages of 8 to 1. So, and they do spend some time at our house, but I'm sure that our neighbors will be very, very careful. We don't have any interest in trying to slow this process down. We understand they want, and we're sympathetic to their need for the pool. We just would like it to be done in a way that gets the greatest benefit for all sides. We are their only really adjoining neighbor, and we're in close proximity and have lived well together. So,
Okay. Yes, Gina?
I can respond just about our process as it relates to tree preservation. So at this juncture, these applicants are seeking board authorization for the variance, essentially for the proposed design. Once they have that authorization, they will then work with their architect or experts to create the detailed plans and drawings that are required for village and county permit issuance. Generally, applicants do not seek that level of detail until they've received a variance. It would essentially be a lot of money to be expended in advance if you weren't able to obtain the variance from the board. So should the board vote to approve the variance and special permit, the applicant still would not actually receive a building permit from our office until they have complied with all other aspects of our permit review process, including stormwater management and tree preservation. When we assess for tree preservation, our arborist looks at all surrounding trees that may be impacted by construction, regardless of whether or not they are indicated as being on the applicant's property or on the neighboring property. So that assessment of this specimen white oak tree will happen regardless, as it was done for the prior permits at this property. So that assessment will certainly happen in due course under our process, but it will be pending the board's decision this evening on the variance and special permit. I also just wanted to note that the applicants have requested that this photo image be circulated to the board and entered into the record. And it, as the applicant has described, is a photo that shows fencing that the applicants assert was placed by the residents at 18 West Lenox Street. And the photo perspective is looking from the yard at 20 West Lenox into the property at 18 West Lenox, with the specimen white oak shown on the right-hand side of the photo.
Okay.
So I just brought that.
where is the photo? I don't see it.
It's a hard copy, and we can certainly provide you with a copy of it after the meeting. It's
Okay.
just entered into the record by the applicant.
Well, my concern about the location, and this will be the last thing I say. I know I shouldn't just start talking, but about the location of the tree not being shown and being on our property is just to make sure that at every stage of the way with the village arborist, and we also may hire our own arborist, that we participate, because it's different if it's their tree. But we would like to participate with the arborist and hear what he has to say, and because it's a very precious resource.
I will acknowledge a piece of the trees on their property.
Okay. All right, other comments or questions?
So Shana, we do have ample time. In the case of the Wellingtons, their architect could review and provide input.
And look at the impacts on the tree.
We'll
yeah.
certainly accept any input that the neighbors have and their experts, absolutely.
And again, even during our addition, we took ample cases of our own arborists, other village arborists, and finding out what the root systems are, make sure we want to survey it. We do want to preserve the tree, and that will be part of the building permit
Okay.
process.
So it seems to me that listening to Ms. Wellington and to you, there's plenty of room for the two of you to cooperate as neighbors and
I think so.
families and ensure that if we were to approve this, that it would be done in a fashion that would be acceptable to all. So that brings us to the next question, and that is whether anybody has a proposal or a motion rather related to this proposal.
I do.
Yes. I'm sorry, that's it.
Well, I'd like to say something about the pool. Yeah. Sorry.
Could you give your name, please?
Yeah, Laura Sema from 5625 Grove Street. So I obviously have no interest in this area here, but I will say we are dog owners, and this is an area along Magnolia Parkway where people walk in the street. If you go back to the last, thank you. People get pushed up onto that little area that's the right of way next to the fence when cars are coming along, because they tend not to use the sidewalk on the opposite side of Magnolia Parkway, which there's steps going up there. I mean, I feel for the owners here, but I look at this drawing and I say, look, you already have so much of village property based on where, again, and I'm assuming the previous homeowners got the ability to put the fence up. That's not yours. So at some point way back 30 years ago or something, they were granted that ability to put the fence way into the right of way in front of the property line. And they've been, whoever owns that property, not just you, has been able to use that property that basically belongs to the whole village, but is fenced in by them. I also look at that drawing and I see, hey, you knew when you bought this lot that you were on a corner lot, what the restrictions were. You also put a rather large addition onto the back of the house. There's only so many things that any of us can do with our properties. Any of us. Any of us. If that addition wasn't there, there'd be plenty of room for the pool. But there's not room for both. At what point do you as a board say, look, we understand, and I've been to enough meetings now that I've heard you all, you're very considerate, and you're very willing to work with people. But at some point, when do you have to say, you can't have everything? And that's.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I didn't understand your point about the fence. I don't believe they're talking about moving the fence.
Correct. That's exactly right. And that's part of what I'm saying. What if village residents came together and said, hey, look, we really need a sidewalk there because it's really a problem that we can't walk along there. Then that fence moves.
So, but you said at the beginning that you were concerned that dog walkers would not have the safety of being able to go on the.
It's a little tight as it is. Yeah. It really is.
But I mean, people do use it currently with that alignment, correct?
Even in the current alignment, if that's what you mean, Mr. Wood said, it's a little bit difficult over there. I mean, even driving over here now, you have to be very careful of pedestrians who are walking along Magnolia Parkway. Well, they rarely use the sidewalk
I'm
there.
still missing something.
No, go ahead.
If as you suggest, sometime in the future, they might need to move that fence back to accommodate a sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
How does this particular
There's no change.
It's not the fence. That's fair. As it stands, no, I really have no opposition to increasing the fence to the 5 foot that they're asking for. the current placement of it, I mean, I don't really, again, that was something that was done way before any of
Sure,
our
but-
time.
But it seems to me that moving it back a few feet to accommodate I don't know what the complexities of that are legally and so forth, but assuming that that was possible now, that would still be possible after this work we're doing, right? The pool's not in the way of moving that fence back.
No, that's why this is two separate issues, right? This is,
Yeah,
the pool
yeah.
is really the
Okay,
cart
then-
leading the
then-
horse, right?
Then it's the extra 6 inches of fence that doesn't affect, the extra height of the fence doesn't affect.
Really
the
what I'm
ability to
getting
move
at
that.
here is I have a real problem with the pool. Because the pool is going, I mean, look at the yellow line there. That's how much that pool and that addition, and the drawing here, I mean, we're not talking about final plans, I understand that, but this is listed as porcelain tile as the patio, which I don't know if that's impermeable. I'm saying there's a lot, that's a lot of lot coverage. And, again, I know that in-ground structures are not counted towards lot coverage. I know that some of the hardscaping is not
This
counted.
doesn't
towards
violate
lot
the
coverage.
code, so I don't really see that you're, I mean,
Well,
the pool construction does not.
the pool goes over the line. The yellow line, correct, is where they're going over. Shayna, is that correct?
So the entire outdoor therapeutic bath is forward of the required setback, and the majority of the pool.
I mean, as it is, part of the house is already over that line. If you extend that line to, sorry, I sometimes get my streets mixed up, but we're looking at Lenox, that the house is already extended.
But to be clear, the line that is denoted here is not the building restriction line. This is the additional setback from the building restriction line
For the
that is
pool.
required specific to pools.
Correct.
So the
Yes.
house
So that's
itself
not,
is-
that's true.
Yes,
Yes.
the
Thank
house
you
itself
for
is
that.
compliant.
Thank you for that. I agree with that. But yeah, I mean, I look at it and I think, well, do you have to take the pool then and turn it 90 degrees and put it in front of the garage? I mean, are there other options here? I mean, maybe you don't have a pool. I understand that there seems to be a medical need for the therapeutic spa. Is it possible to just put that in as a feature? But this is taking up a lot of real estate. And again, it's real estate. Yeah, there's really the two issues here, the fence and then the pool. But it seems like it's far away. When you walk that, though, it doesn't feel that far away where they're proposing to put this in along Magnolia. Those 10 feet make a big difference. They really do. And again, I have to say, as property owners, we buy our lots and we should understand where the lines are. And again, we have choices we can make. What can we fit on our lot? We can't have everything we want on our lots. I look at this and again, I say, there's a big addition that was already on here. You knew what the lot restrictions were, and you've proceeded with going ahead with this, hoping you can get the variance. And, of course, it's up to you all to decide whether that's going to be the case or not. But in the bigger picture of things, I have to ask this board, like, when does that start really coming into effect? Because I think you're having more and more properties where people are putting on bigger and bigger additions, and you are going to have more of these situations. And what you do now is going to set precedents, as always, for what comes before. The last thing I'll say is, I believe 7 Kirk Street was put in before the 2014 code ordinance change. I don't know that would pass now. I don't know if the code ordinance changed because of that. And the property that's on Broad Branch, as Shayna mentioned, was re-subdivided from 2 lots into 1 lot. If it had remained 2 lots, the pool would be in compliance. The only reason, my understanding from reading that it did not is because they re-subdivided it, and that changed front lot lines. But otherwise, had it remained 2 separate lots, it would have been that's my understanding of reading that.
The pool at 6320 Broad Branch is where the prior house on the second lot was.
Right.
So, in its physical location, I don't know that it would really have been compliant.
I think it says
I
that
don't
it would
think
have in there.
existed. I don't think it would have been able to.
Well, they wouldn't have been able, yeah, if they, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
If they hadn't re-subdivided and demolished the house.
Right. And
Correct,
because the
yes.
setback is established by measuring
Correct.
from the front plane of the house.
Right.
That's where it's difficult to say that it would have been
It's-
compliant because it physically couldn't
Right.
have gone where it.
So I think the two cases that you're doing for precedence, one, I don't know how the 2014 code ordinance, whether the house at 7 Kirk would have passed. And then secondly, I think the Broad Branch is that is a unique situation, a very different situation where the lot, again, was re-subdivided, 2 lots becoming 1. So that's changed the property lines. But that's really all I can say. And you probably all have gotten the sense before. I know I've said things to the board before, wondering about driveways and parking courts and things like that. At some point, we're going to be running into this issue. People are running out of room to expand. We can't keep expanding. And thank you
Okay.
for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your comments and your interest. One of the things that I think the board pays specific close attention to in cases of this kind are the attitudes and views of neighboring property owners that are directly affected by the decisions that we make, as are the applicants, of course. So in this case, at least on that issue, it appears to me that the adjoining property owners, the Wellingtons, their needs can be met even if we were to approve this. But do we have other comments or questions?
I guess I'm very sympathetic with a lot of what you said, but we have to go by the regulations as they exist today. And a lot of people would like to see essentially limitations on how much impermeable stuff you could have on your yard. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what you're trying to do, that's not the way our laws are written at the moment. We have specific things that you can or can't do, and we have specific tests for moving but we don't have a law that says impermeable stuff you can have on your yard. If we did, I'd probably have to take my patio and replace it with a different material. But
Can I comment just briefly? Our main concern has been the tree, but we also, as you saw in the letter from our architect, that's why it's too bad that he couldn't be here. We have concerns about the fence, and that's why I raised the issue of moving the fence for the pool closer so that you wouldn't have to increase the height of the fence that's already there. That's sort of grandfathered in. I mean, as I remember it, it was built and then later they got the variance, but that's what you get when you've lived in the village as long as I have. So, but no, we are also concerned about the fence because it's also, you see how it comes all the way around and then it's right there near the tree. So if the fence were closer to the pool, it would be less intrusive. And I do understand what this lady is saying because, you know, one of the goals of the historic district is to preserve our park-like setting. And so making fences even bigger isn't really consistent with that. But I thank you again for listening. And I'm sorry that my architect couldn't be here, and I'll see if he can send in some other comments.
Okay, thank you. Gary, you were earlier going to have a
Yes,
comment
I
or-
guess, I'll make one more comment, which is that we really can't, we either have to deny or approve this variance. We can't, with some exceptions, we could say that given that the applicant will do this and that and the other thing, but when we get into trying to micromanage the layout and what fence should go where and whether it should be moved back a little, that's just way beyond the scope of what we do. So the question here is, given that there's so much work, so many hurdles that have to be jumped after a affirmative result here tonight, I am comfortable in saying the following. I move to approve variance request in case A 8576 and the special permit request in case A 8589 on the basis of the evidence presented, including the staff report and case synopsis, demonstrations of the applicable requirements for the approval of the variance or special permit have been met. Staff is directed to draft the decision based on this evidence, including the findings of facts and conclusions, approving the modification, the variance and the special permit.
Second.
And you are including in that the variance also for 85, 89?
Yes,
In addition to the special
variance
permit.
for 85, 89 as well. Yes, thank you.
And that's for the fence. That's
No,
the
I-
variance and the special permit for the fence. That's not the placement of the pool.
That's right.
It's both.
I basically did my best to say that I'm approving, or I'm suggesting that we approve both of these.
I have it, so it is on record. So if you're approving the pool,
Yes.
then it's on record that no one on this board, you could go back to the, if you could go back to the drawing. Thank you. So you're on record that none of you have any issues with the placement of the pool going into, over. Is that correct? I mean, because I look at this and the smell test. I think that kind of says it all. Thank you.
Good.
All right, so what we have a motion and a second, and the motion encompasses both case A 8576 as well as case A 8589. May I have a showing of hands of all those in favor of this motion? 3, 4, 5. Any opposed? I count 5 in favor and no opposed. The motion carries. Shana, could you contact our esteemed chairwoman and let her know it's time for her to come back and do her job?
Yes, will do.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Treasurer's report.
I have, I have nothing specific to add to the written report, except to observe that one of those CDs that I had to drive up to Baltimore to get the paper check. Anyway, we got a call from that bank and they had screwed up and either they send monthly interest checks to us because you can't go over the 250K, et cetera, et cetera. And they either sent one too many of those or they anyway, we had to send them $400 back. And that to me just goes further to say that that's not the right kind of investment for this.
Your gas,
organization.
your gas expense. That's a long way to go.
The wrong check.
Thank you for filling us in. Sounds
I'm not.
okay. One of the annoyances of the the next thing on the agenda is the contract and budget amendment authorization for the stormwater remediation. And is this the point you want me to? We should-
No, we'll let Jackie go ahead
Yeah.
and provide a brief overview of the project, and then we'll talk about
Awesome.
the
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
Good evening. Tonight we'll be presenting a two-part matter to the board to take action on in regard to the Primrose Street Stormwater Runoff Remediation Project. The first matter will be a presentation of a contract authorization request for construction, and Robin Barnhart of CPJ and Associates, our consulting engineer, is going to be joining us virtually. The second matter to be discussed will be the budget amendment that the village manager will present for your consideration. An invitation for bid was posted on e-Maryland Marketplace. We reached 23 contractors and was submitted directly to 4 companies that either the consulting engineer suggested or that we have worked with in the past. 4 sufficiently complete bids were submitted, and DNF Construction Incorporated was the lowest qualified bidder. The Primrose Street Stormwater Runoff Remediation Project includes a trench drain on the north side of the block between 1 and 15 Primrose Street that will connect to the existing county-maintained storm drain inlet located in front of 1 Primrose Street. It also includes a full roadway and curb restoration along the entire block. DNF Construction, who we are suggesting, has performed similar projects for Montgomery County and our neighboring municipalities. Our consulting engineer has proposed 2 alternate additions to address runoff concerns expressed by the residents of 2 Primrose Street due to topography of the recessed driveway. However, these concerns have been assessed by the consulting engineers and are not a result of a deficiency of the right-of-way. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. So I don't have any questions. I just wanted to alert everyone that the homeowner at 2 Primrose was hoping that we would split the cost of their remediation, which is separate from this. And in fact, we have given them the gift of 4 bids and the engineering required for them to piggyback onto our project at a reduced rate than if they had bid it out themselves. So I don't see a reason to.
Say that again. We have to, what?
Well, so 2 Primrose Street was across the street, and they have a stormwater problem because their driveway goes down into their garage. So we said, while we're doing this project, while our guys are on that street, if you want them to remediate yours, they can give you a price for that. So we have gone ahead and gotten that price on their behalf.
And designed a solution.
And designed the solution. So we've given them bids and engineering for a solution for their house and the opportunity to piggyback onto the project while the workers are on the street. So it is going to cost them less than it would if they bid it out themselves. And it would be unusual for us to use the taxpayer money to fix someone's problem, which is, it's a real problem, but it has to do with the fact that their driveway goes and the gravity takes the water down. It's not street water from for other reasons. So we needed a sense of the board about that, and I just want to make sure.
So our involvement would be to make the workers available, or I'm not quite understanding.
They have a separate bid, which is like $7,000 or something.
Yeah, just under $8,000.
To fix their driveway while the workers are there, and they would take on that cost. It just, there was an economy of
economy of scale. to
and convenience
include
that
it.
we were already doing work on the
Okay,
street.
I got
I
you.
think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does make
I mean,
sense.
yeah.
We,
They'd probably
we've
have to
already
pay double if
provided
they were
them
doing it
the
on their own, yeah.
engineering and the bidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
We're
And
good.
And I don't think
logistically,
it
we're
exposes us to, a runoff.
There's no-
risk
yeah.
Because it has to be affiliated with. the
I'm
project.
and
not
all
sure
the
what your
work is still
point is.
within.
Yeah,
Yeah, all the work would still be in the public right of way. It's not on their private property. It's all within the public right of way. We would enter into some form of a document just confirming that they've given us authorization for our contractor to do this work on their apron, on their driveway. Traditionally, when we have entered into those kinds of agreements, the village has gone ahead and paid the contractor for the work and then received reimbursement from the resident. So the resident doesn't have to cut a check to the contractor. We include all of that payment in the payments that we're already going to be paying them for the larger project, and the resident would simply reimburse us. And we'll work with Sue Ellen to get the appropriate contractual document together to make sure that the resident understands that arrangement.
Yeah. So the point is, we've already given them the gift
Yeah, so it's kind
of
a
the
courtesy.
engineering and the bid.
Yeah.
The question was, do we additionally share their costs to fix their water going into their driveway? And I think that's a precedent of using taxpayer money that we haven't done for other people. So,
And it's
Do we-
not a function of what we're doing.
no, it has nothing to do with what we're doing. We just happen to be on the street
Right.
doing work.
This is consistent with what was done on the alley that goes by my house for the people on the other side of it.
Yeah.
The thing that we did to fix the damage that the village did some years back by putting a concrete alley in there, didn't involve them directly, but they could have, if they wanted to, they took into this thing at their expense. It's very, very similar to this, and there was no talk of
Cost sharing.
of
Yeah.
cost sharing there.
Okay, so as long as we're clear about that, that's the only thing I wanted to mention before we take a vote on this.
And if I could also just
Yeah.
add, we do have a report that was shared with the board at your prior meeting that did detail from our consulting engineer that she did not believe that any of the runoff experienced at 2 Primrose was in any way related to a deficiency of any type in the right of way. There is the appropriate sloping that we're supposed to have on the public sidewalk to divert water back toward the street. All other aspects of the way that the water flows is simply just a matter of topography outside of our control. If you'd like, I can also just generally summarize the budget amendment, and then the board can take this up as one full
Okay.
motion.
Awesome.
And so, as was indicated in my staff report, although this was a project that we had initially anticipated for the current fiscal year, the true cost was not known at that time. And so rather than attempting to come up with a cost for the budget, we decided it was better to just put placeholder monies in and then to bring the budget amendment back to the board once we have the bids in from the recommended contractor. So the total project cost is now slated to be $481,000. That does include, again, the alternate options for 2 Primrose, because we would be making the initial outlay of funds, even though the resident is proposed to reimburse us. Given the money that we do currently have in our capital budget for stormwater management projects and what we anticipate we may need to spend on other remaining projects for the rest of the fiscal year, we're proposing an amendment to transfer $144,000 from projected reserves to the capital line item to fund this project.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Anybody have a motion?
Sure, I move to authorize the village manager to enter into a contract in substantially the form provided and subject to the approval by village council with DNF Construction, Inc. to provide construction services in an amount not to exceed $420,000 for completion of the Primrose Street Stormwater Runoff Remediation Project, and to adopt resolution number 010125 as drafted.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
And I also just wanted to note that one of the residents who really was the spearheading force for this project, Mr. Curtin of 3 Primrose Street, is on the virtual feed, and I just wanted to thank him. We will be piggybacking and using the county permit that he's already obtained to connect the trench drain to the county-maintained storm drain inlet, and really looking forward to moving this project forward. We do not have a definite timeline for when we will be able to begin the project. That is now weather dependent for when the asphalt plants will reopen, but hoping to get started on this early spring, late winter, that time frame.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you. So now we have a police report.
May I say a word before you go to the next item?
Sure. Is that
Mr. Curtin.
Mr. Curtin?
It is I from 3 Primrose Street.
Yes.
And I would like to express my appreciation as well as the appreciation of my neighbors on Primrose Street and beyond in the village for your vision and your care and your concern and your generosity. As Shayna and Aurelio and know, I had worked on the street out of concern for the safety of those visiting my home as well as other homes on the street, to try to come up with a resolution privately among us as neighbors. And in the course of doing so, of course, worked with Shayna, Aurelio, and before them, Ellen, toward that end. And quite considerately, Shayna and her leadership worked with us as residents, and in the most graceful and elegant of manners, took upon the leadership of our finding this resolution. And I would really like to everybody to recognize Shayna and Aurelio for their greatly appreciated work here. This will be a great enhancement to many of the village residents enjoy walking Primrose Street. I hope some of the board members do as well. And it is now going to be a more appealing, a safer, and a more fulfilling experience for the residents and those who pass by. So I wanted to add for the record my sincere and profound appreciation.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shayna. Thank you, Aurelio. So the police report.
Good evening, everyone. So never let it be said that a couple hours cannot ruin your entire month. Those hours happen about 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock between December 2nd and December 3rd. That's when we had 15 attempt thefts from auto, just kind of 15 unlocked vehicles. They did get turned away from one locked vehicle. But during that spate, they were also able to steal one vehicle. That unlocked vehicle had the keys in it for the other vehicle that was next to it. So they did get away with one car, but they were apprehended. Theft happened on the morning of the 3rd. They were apprehended in DC on the 15th. So take that as a win, I guess. They did get caught. So it did kind of drive our numbers up for December, though, which drove our numbers up for the year. So we're 9 over 2023 in thefts from auto, or attempts thefts from auto. And the vast majorities were unlocked cars with nothing in them. So we've got half the equation right. We just need to work on the second half of locking that door. So that's the good news for there. Administratively, we did have the Toys for Tots drive. Thank you for everybody who contributed. Emptied that box out, took it over to the warehouse. They're very happy to see it, and we'll be a little more organized, I think, with maybe just a drop-off day to kind of spur some more activity with it. We still have one opening in the police department. I had 3 applicants in the initial screening. Evidently, 2 of them have gone dark. So we might still have one in the mix, and we are continuously trying to recruit and find some folks to help bolster our midnight shift a little bit. Other than that, that's all I have. Any questions or concerns?
Can you tell, were all the vehicles in the same area? Or
So it ranged from Hesketh, West Irving, Grafton, and both sides of both sides of Irving, and one on Connecticut Avenue.
okay, so mainly West Village, but a little bit of the east.
Yeah, just a scotch. So again, there was 3 of them. They made a little quick run through the village, pulled some handles, got into a couple. I don't think we had, I think we had a pair of sunglasses and some items removed from the trunk. The rest of the vehicles were empty. So again, we're getting half the equation right. We just need to work on the other half.
Chief, is this though, do I recall correctly that you had some pictures of these people from?
Yes, I did send an alert went out.
They were hooded up to the.
Yeah.
It was early, a month or so earlier than that, but I saw people that looked a lot like that trying to open my cars in the driveway. So it's it's not their first attempt, I don't think, in the village.
Right, and it goes back to the theory that we've talked about, right?
Yeah.
If you have success someplace, if you go to a fishing hole and you catch a bunch of fish, you're not going to a different fishing hole. You're coming back to that one. So we'll continue to put the message out, try to drive some behavioral change, and make this place a little harder and less attractive to some of these folks.
Thank you. We appreciate the message.
Sure.
Manager's report.
Just note really quickly that we're making phenomenal progress on the new air conditioning system that is being installed. Unfortunately, our boiler system went down, and so we currently do not have heat in the building or hot water except for rooms that are on a heat pump. So this room is relatively comfortable. Some other spaces are. But the office areas and unfortunately the post office do not have heat. So we are currently operating several space heaters throughout the building to make the space as comfortable as possible. But we are really, really looking forward to the new system. Our current HVAC contractor on an emergency basis is working to get the replacement parts to be able to repair the current boilers. They've indicated to us early this week, and so we're hopeful we'll be back online by the end of the week. But the system went down Wednesday, I think, of last week, and so we've been without heat since then. So if you need a wake up, come visit us in the office first thing in the morning. It's quite nippy in the office
Tell
spaces.
the post offices they pay us what they owe us, we'll give them.
Would have been a nice bargaining tactic, right? Right. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, it's included in my manager's report, but I just wanted to note that there is progress being made at the federal level in regard to the removal of the memorialization element to Senator Newlands in Chevy Chase Circle. There is a very robust, very paper-heavy process that the National Park Service has to go through for something like this. And basically, we had a meeting in mid-December to talk through that process. They had to publicly advertise for comments for adverse impacts that removal of the memorialization elements might have on the fountain. I have not received any word that any actual objections were received, so hopefully this will now move forward to the next step in the process, which is getting sign off from all of the related historic preservation offices at the federal level, at the DC level, as well as the state level, because of course this is a bi-jurisdictional fountain. And so as this works its way through the process, I'll keep the board updated. There was some concern that the change in administration might put a halt to this process. And so they have been trying to kind of expedite things to get it moving through. So we're hopeful that we will have final sign off by the end of the calendar year. Yes, that is how long this will take. to hopefully then get the green light to start hiring contractors to actually start removing the memorialization elements that are within the circle. So that's the update for now, and I'll certainly report back to the board if there's anything else. As Mr. Morseberger indicated, there are no material updates about attainable housing. I've heard that there has been some confusion that because Will Jawando has put out his statement asking for a pause, and he was the drafter of the initial legislation 4 years ago that has evolved into what is the current attainable housing, that somehow this issue is now completely dead.
Right.
And it is not. It is very much still in play. There is no legislation that has yet been introduced, but his action to release that statement was simply a personal statement of where he thinks the council should go. It has absolutely no effect on potential legislation and what the rest of the council may do. And at this time, only one other council member, Kristen Mink, has gone on record also saying that she does not agree with the current slate of recommendations from the planning board. So we have no reason to believe that there is not a majority of council members who are in support in one form or another. But if you are speaking to any residents, and we will clarify this in Friday's blast as well, that people should still remain engaged. People should still be writing into the council their concerns and their thoughts on this. But this matter is still absolutely in play. There was a legislative delegation committee briefing this evening regarding the municipal regulatory authority bill that we have asked for Delegate Solomon to push through. In summary, it was just a discussion. There were some additional things that the legislators have asked for the municipalities to provide. They wanted to see a map of where the various different housing zones are located within our municipalities. They wanted population information for the municipalities, but no one voiced any outright objection to the current bill. And so we'll be working to get back the information that was requested, but that is also now working its way through the process. I have not seen any information about scheduling of the bill before the actual legislative committee that it's been assigned to on the House side. This was just the Montgomery delegation's internal committee that was discussing it this evening. So those are my updates, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Hearing none.
I move to
All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you.